All right, I'm just gonna get started, and I want to talk about how knowing your heritage can save your home and may save your home and your neighborhood. If you guys remember that we're on 2 videos ago, I talked about developers moving in and developers approaching people wanting to buy their properties, buy their air rights, their land rights. And I mentioned that in one particular case that's in my area, they actually issued eminent domain in order to take over a building. Well, I wanted to do more research in eminent domain since that's something that might affect me, and it also may affect other people as well. And in a way, in doing my research, I found that it did affect me and I didn't even realize it. Okay, let's talk about eminent domain. Eminent domain is the government's ability to take over property, even if it's owned outright by someone, and use it for public use, and sometimes also many times also recently, for economic development. And I'll give you the example a little bit later on. So, what I found though is that what could stop, or one of the ways that can stop eminent domain, is knowing the history of your property. If your property has any historical value, or the neighborhood that you're in has any historical value, you can go to several different places to get that information, and you can register your property so that in case anybody comes in and says, we're going to use eminent domain against you, they won't be able to. And that is number one, if you declare your property a historical landmark. Now, to see if it would qualify, what you would do is you would go to the records department. That's the easiest way. You could go to the National Registry of Historical Places. You would go to the State Historic Preservation or your local historic society or local historic library. And then you would register it with the Landmark Preservation Commission. Now, some people, what they've done is they've actually dug up their backyard to see if there's any artifacts or anything like that. The problem with that is that sometimes what's in the dirt underneath your home or in your backyard, it may not necessarily be safe. For example, or you might not necessarily like what you'll find. For example, I know after taking the Philly bus tour of properties, there's a certain section in West Philly where the homes are actually built on top of a graveyard. So I don't know about you, but I have an issue about digging up and finding bones. That's just an issue. It might be just me. You might not have a problem with that, but I do. I have a problem with, first place, with the fact that that whole entire neighborhood was built on top of a graveyard. The other issue, when I was in school, I remember them saying in upstate New York, there's near Niagara Falls, there is a place where the Army used to test bombs and all that other kind of stuff. And they didn't really do that great of a job as far as clearing the land. And they've built houses on top of that. So I think it is kind of dangerous to dig up your backyard, even though many people have done it and many people have found, that is how many people have found that their house was historic. Now, besides the benefit of their house not being torn down, during eminent domain, the other thing about declaring your house historic is that there is a tax cut. You don't pay as much property taxes as someone else, or as much as you would have before. So that's one of the benefits. The minus is that you have to agree that you're going to preserve that house the way it is, and preserving a house can be quite expensive. So that's something to consider. Now, the other thing to consider, and this is how it affected me indirectly, is there have been times when they have used it for economic development. And did I write down the case? Yes, Kelo versus New London, and this happened in Connecticut. What happened is a developer approached the government, issued eminent domain on the waterfront properties. They convinced Pfizer to come in as a client, as a tenant. However, Pfizer backed out after the city already issued the eminent domain and told all those people they need to move, and those people fought. One person, she got her house moved to another location, but the other people left. Many of them left New London and went to either another area of Connecticut, or they left Connecticut altogether. Pfizer actually backed out the deal. They went into a merger with another company, and I guess while they were talking to the other company, that company convinced them that being a client or a customer of this particular developer was not smart, because you would be paying $400,000 a year in taxes, move to another part of Connecticut and save money. The taxes would be a lot cheaper. So that's what Pfizer did. The developer couldn't get any funding, and to this day, there's no properties there. Now, how did that affect me? Well, I had wanted to vacation in New London, Connecticut. I was taking a trip actually to Providence, Rhode Island. And as you know, to go from New York to Providence, you have to take that. You can take Amtrak, you can drive, whatever. And I also had taken another trip to Boston. Now, when I had went to Providence, I think that was back in 2000 or 2000, either 2000 or 2002, sometime around there. I went up there, and they had hotels on the beach. They were partying. They even had, I thought I saw a ship that said Amistad. I might be mistaken, but I know there's a lot of ships there. So I was like, oh, this is a great little quick weekend getaway. So when it was, I didn't book the trip right away. It took me maybe like, I think it was 2015, the year that we had Hurricane Irene. I booked the trip then to go up there, and I couldn't find the hotel that I know that I saw, that I could have sworn I saw. And I was like, I wonder what's going on. I wonder why they're not listed. So what I did was I went ahead and booked the trip. Hurricane Irene came. Needless to say, the trip was canceled because the trains decided not to go. They told us we shouldn't drive, and the hotel said that they didn't have electricity. They weren't letting people in anyway. So I was like really disappointed, and I said, one day I'll go back. So we went back, I think 2015, we went back to Rhode Island, but this time we went to Newport. But you still have to go through New London in order to get to Newport. And also there was another instance when we went to Boston. We drove up that time, and you still have to go through Connecticut in order to get to Massachusetts. So I was like, we still don't see those properties there. But I had no idea that the reason why I didn't see those properties, the reason why I didn't see that hotel that I stayed in before, is because of eminent domain, because the government came in and knocked down every single building. And I was like, wow. I mean, they say this case, I think, was from 2003, and now it's 2018, and they haven't rebuilt anything. All those people lost their homes. The government lost out too, if you think about it, because not only when Pfizer backed out of the deal did they lose taxes, but they also lost taxes from all of those homeowners that were living on the waterfront and all of those businesses that were on the waterfront. And tourists like me who wanted to vacation there. You lost money from me because now I don't want to go up there, because my main purpose to go up there was for the beach. And because the hotels, it was like a club on top and a hotel on the bottom. So that was my main purpose of going there, because for the weekend, because it looked like something that I would want to, place that I would want to hang out. But not now. So you lost out twice, taxes and tourism money. All right, so that is the second way that many people are able to fight eminent domain, by using that case. And again, that case is Kelo versus New London. So what I would do is, if your home or neighborhood does not fall under historic preservation, you can fight, or at least find out what is the use going to be for the property if I move. Now I'm going to let you know if it's for a road, if it's for a school, if it's for a hospital, a bridge, utility companies. 9 times out of 10, you are going to have to move. If it's for like economic development, you might have a chance based on the Kelo versus New London case. Okay, what's the other thing I wanted to mention to you? Now, again, what I want you to know is, in case you do have to move, I want to go through all of the people who get paid, all the different types of investors as well as non-investors. I'm going to start from the top of the line. Who gets paid first? The people who get paid first are the tax lien holders. Now, here's how it works. If it's only a partial eminent domain, then your tax lien stays. The property owner has to move, but your tax lien stays in place, and the government will just continue to pay you up until the redemption period. If it's a full eminent domain, in most instances, and I say most because there have been times when the government has fought to not pay a tax lien holder, and that case is Hannon versus City of Newton. But that person actually won that case. The creditors wanted to get paid before the tax lien holder, and they wanted to wipe out the tax lien so that they could collect more money. But she went to court and she won that case. But in most other cases, tax liens and tax deeds, you get paid first. Of course, if it's a tax deed, I know some of you will buy deeds because you actually want the property. Well, you're not going to get the property. You're just going to get the interest earned on that tax deed that you bought. The next set of people in line to get paid are people who hold mortgage notes. And banks hold mortgage notes as well, as you know. And it depends on the state or city as far as how much you get paid. Why do I say this? Because if the property value is less than the mortgage lien, then you will only get the property value instead of what they actually owe you. So keep that in mind if you invest in mortgage notes. Then next in line is the actual homeowner. The homeowner gets paid the value of the home. And this is something that I think both homeowners and note holders should do. Get your own appraisal, because the government may not appraise the property to the amount that you wish for it to be. Number one, they might be completely out the ballpark. So you want to get a real estate appraiser to validate the value of the home. All right, now I'm going to go back to the homeowner. As a homeowner, I want you to know the government doesn't always tell you this. This is why you should not sign the paper when they give it to you at first. You should tell them, I want to think about it. That's what you should tell them. Even if the money on paper looks good, even if the appraiser says, well, first of all, you need to tell them to hold off because you want to get an appraiser. That's number one. But number two, sometimes the figure that they give you does not include moving costs and any other incidental costs. So you want to say you think about it and then add that in there, because they're supposed to give it to you, but because they know that they're counting that you don't know any better and that you'll just take the money, go back to them. Don't do that. Go back